It is 6:46. Let's have a look at some of the newspapers. The Telegraph has an exclusive with the Prime Minister as he says Ukraine must decide the terms of any peace deal.
The Times leads on our top story this morning. The government opened the door to talks about an EU mobility scheme for under 30s.
The new online safety rules front of the Daily Mail this morning as campaigners warn children could be put in harm's way.
The Daily Express has interviewed the fathers of two of the girls who lost their lives in the Southport murders as they prepare to run the London Marathon this weekend in honour of their daughters Elsie Stankham and BB King.
All right, let's go through some of those with former Conservative advisor Claire Pearsall and our senior political commentator Nigel Nelson. Good morning, you two. Right, Claire, the Times, one in, one out.
I mean, this is just cosying up to the EU on an epic scale once again. The problem that you've got with these kind of ideas of a mobility scheme, it just looks like it's opening through the back door a closer relationship and closer to free movement. On the other hand, you have Yvette Cooper saying that she wouldn't like a return to free movement and she doesn't want anything that even remotely looks like it. So these two diametrically opposed things can't exist. We need to see what the level of detail is on this, because if you're looking at a timescale of anything over 12 months for people to come into the United Kingdom, they will show up on net migration stats, which, as we all know, are increasing all the time and don't look very good.
Go on, Nigel.
That, can you?
But you won't. This is the whole point about doing it this way. So you're absolutely right that if you do it for 12 months and under, people won't show up on the stats. If you the idea that she's got is they will show up on the stats, but if you do a one in, one out, one Brit goes to Europe, one EU youngster comes to this country, then the stats will balance themselves out.
How logistically, how do you do that?
Precisely.
I mean, I can't understand the logistics of it.
Well, I mean, that would have to be sorted. That obviously has to be sorted out.
Queuing at the Eurostar in Paris, waiting to get the green light.
And you get down to.
But you do it through visas. I mean, people would have visas to come here, and we'd need visas to go there.
But then, what about when someone from the UK wants to come back from the EU? How do we then ship someone back? It seems like a logistical nightmare.
Well, I mean, whether you'll actually get it as absolutely on each one, you know, that might be a bit trickier. But the principle of it all is really good. It's not freedom of movement. There's no question of that. These people will come here and they'll go home. We already do...
OK, you say that. You say people will come here and go home. There is an enormous problem with people coming over on student visas, on working visas for young people, who then overstay their visa and stay here, and then they seek to claim asylum after that and say they can't be returned home. You're not going to solve that problem, and actually you're going to make that problem worse.
Well, they are coming from safe countries. Well, they are coming from safe countries, so even if they do try and overstay... you send them back.
They're all from safe countries, that they're all not going to suggest that there is some characteristic that needs to be protected and they can't be
returned.
Well,
in France or Germany or Spain or Italy.
So you're suggesting that there isn't a problem with people overstaying a visa?
There is, but not people like
and
this.
Not being returned.
Really? Well, we had loads of EU people here before Brexit, and that didn't cause any major problems.
We're not just talking about that. We are talking about opening this up to young people who are going to be coming through very different countries, and they're going to suggest they can't go back. Well, so you're not just looking at some French students.
But we do already do these schemes. We do it with Commonwealth countries, so Australia, Canada, New Zealand. We also do it with places like Japan and Uruguay, and they work perfectly well.
Exactly.
I cannot see, just because it's Europe, why this should be any kind of problem.
Have you been getting a load of spam in your email recently? What about random calls? It's really annoying, isn't it? Data brokers are out there collecting your personal information. Anything from your email, your full name, your address, and even your political affiliation. Cyber criminals can even use AI to mimic the voices of friends and family to trick people into sending them money. And it gets even worse. People out there are getting huge loans taken out in their names without even knowing about it. But don't worry, because the sponsor of this video, Incogni, can help. They reach out to the data brokers on your behalf and request that your information is removed from their databases. Incogni continues to make sure that your data is removed automatically from the internet via repeated removal requests. So, how can you get started? Well, step one, hit the link in the description, create an Incogni account and tell us whose data you'd like removed. Step two, grant Incogni the right to work on your behalf. Step three, sit back, relax and watch Incogni work. They will update consistently so you know when your data has been removed. Incogni is risk-free for 30 days, so you can try it for yourself and you'll get a free refund if the service isn't for you. So take back your personal data today with Incogni. Use the code GBNews using the link in the description below and you'll get 60% off an annual payment plan.
Before we talk about Trump, let's have a look at what Keir Starmer's doing in this youth mobility scheme, which we know the Chancellor was very keen on. She says it'll bring money into the country. The Home Secretary was not. So what's happened?
Not so much. Well, of course, we want access to 150 billion euro defence fund. The European Union has said that British companies can't bid for contracts from that fund. We also want closer trading ties with the European Union for just-in-time manufacturing. The European Union also want something in return. And two things that they want. One is a youth mobility scheme, and the second is, of course, fishing rights. And on the youth mobility scheme, they're clear. They want some sort of visa arrangement for 18 to 30-year-olds, I should say, which would allow people to come and go study, work in Europe. But of course, Keir Starmer has said we're not going back into the European Union. Free movement of people is not on the table. And so he's got to try and thread the needle by convincing the British public that actually this is just a limited scheme. And so the proposal from Yvette Cooper in the Home Office, of course she's under immense pressure when it comes to immigration numbers, is that there'd be a one-in, one-out scheme where for every British young person who goes to travel, goes to live and study, travel in the European Union for any length of time, that would allow one person from Europe to come to this country. But of course, she doesn't have the final say in the matter. These are negotiations ultimately that are going to be conducted between Sir Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, and Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the European Commission.
But what does that mean then in terms of one in, one out? We send one 18 to 30-year-old over to the continent to study. We then take someone in from Europe. But then what about when that 18 to 30-year-old has had their fill and they come back? What do we do?
You would think it would be the way it would work on a time-limited arrangement. Okay. And, of course, you're quite right to point this out, that there is going to be a haggling over how long that arrangement is. You know, could it be limited to just 1 or 2 years? The European Union probably aren't going to accept that. They probably want it to be longer, 3 to 5 years. This is going to be the really thorniest part of any negotiation because, of course, we're ahead of the local elections. Nigel Farage reform are expected, and these are only what the polls are suggesting, but are expected to do very well. Free movement of people, the immigration debate for Mr Farage and reform was a key plank of that referendum campaign going back to 2016. And there will be, I'm sure many of your viewers, many of your listeners will feel that this is betraying what they voted for back in that referendum if this was to go forward. Having said that, Rachel Reeves is pro an arrangement. She sees young people coming from Europe into this country to work in sandwich shops and study or whatever it might be would be a big boon for British business as she goes for economic growth.